Hey there, you looking kinda cute. Please consider subscribing. Let's have some fun. Story brought to you by Heidi. Heidi stopped in her tracks. She knew Max was supposed to be big, but not this big. This was huge. The concierge at the hotel had told her that if she was looking for fabrics, Max on the Champs-Élysées was the place to go. If she knew that, it was why she had come to Paris. Now she faced a sea of colors. There were rolls of fabric everywhere, and this was only the ground floor. Mademoiselle? Heidi turned to the saleslady and shook her head. No, thank you. How long have I been staring like this? Heidi wondered to herself. She could feel herself blushing. Then she walked over to a table with fabrics that were on sale and started to browse. Heidi was oblivious to everything around her. No, of course not everything. She was very aware of being engulfed in a seemingly endless sea of glorious fabrics. As a passionate dressmaker, she felt like Scrooge McDuck swimming in his vault filled with money. She was unaware of the lady standing next to her, trying in a typical French discreet manner to get Heidi's attention. While her hands were browsing robot-like through the fabrics in the sale bin, her mind had taken her back to that day in her mother's sewing room almost 15 years ago. Have you finished winding the bobbins for me, Hans? Yes, Mother. Thank you, Hans. Well, why don't you go out and play? It is such a lovely day. I will in a little while, Mother. One of Heidi's favorite things was to page through the many fashion magazines in the big box in the corner of the room, Burda, Elle, and many more. That day in particular, she was fascinated by an article on the Great Fabric House of Paris. In the article, there was a picture of Max on the Champs-Élysées that got her attention. Maybe it was the lens that the photographer had used, but the store seemed to stretched out for miles, a literal sea of fabrics. She just knew that one day she would go and see Max's. Hans, are you still here? When are you going to play? You know your father does not want you to spend so much time indoors. Yes, Mother, I'm going now. Mother, have you ever been to Max's? It is so huge. What on earth are you talking about, Hans? She glanced quickly at the picture in the magazine. Of course not, silly. That's in Paris. Whatever are you thinking? Now out with you. Mademoiselle. The lady touched Heidi lightly on the arm. Heidi was obviously startled as she came back to reality. Oh, pardonnez-moi. I did not mean to startle you. I guess I was daydreaming. Yes, I could see that, replied the lady with a smile, but I was hoping you could give me your opinion. Heidi looked at the lady. She was only a few years older than Heidi. She was very chic, but then it seemed to Heidi that all the French women were. The lady had laid out 2 rolls of fabric on top of the pile in the sale bin, and she had a pattern in her hand. I would like to make this dress, said the lady as she pointed to the picture on the pattern envelope. But I can't make up my mind about these fabrics. Heidi took the envelope to look closer at the picture and the details on the back cover. It was a party dress for a girl 6 to 8 years old. But this absolutely adorable, what a beautiful dress, she exclaimed. Yes, I fell in love with it too, replied the lady. So what do you think? Heidi looked at the 2 rolls of fabric, touching both in turn to try the feel and to test if they would crease easily. She tried to picture in her mind what the dress would look like. Well, they are both nice. But what? Oh, I don't know. Such a beautiful dress. You must make it with something more special, replied Heidi hesitantly. She did not want to hurt the lady's feelings. Yes, you're right, but these fabrics are such a bargain. Then Heidi remembered something she had seen when she entered the store. I have just the thing for you. Heidi was almost bubbling over with excitement, and she virtually ran to the store entrance. But she was sort of affected by Heidi's sudden burst of excitement, so she simply lifted her eyebrows and followed Heidi. This is it. Isn't it just gorgeous? Asked Heidi. There, on the specials display stand, was a beautiful, expensive chiffon. It was basically white, but had a very delicate, soft background pattern in light pink. Isn't it just magical? It is just made for your pattern, and look at the background pattern. Now, you could pick up the color in your accessories. See the ribbons and belt? Heidi was pointing to the picture on the lady's pattern. You should use a velvet ribbon infused rose and pale pink-white lace around the neck. Ooh, I'm so excited. And there is a discount on it also." Heidi had to stop to catch her breath. The lady was also enthralled by the beautiful fabric. Heidi's excitement was contagious. "Well, I did not plan to spend so much, but it is so beautiful." "You're right. The dress calls for something special. I'll take it. You seem to know a lot about dressmaking. Will you help me select the ribbons, please?" "Of course, I'd love to," Heidi replied. "Thank you, and oh, I'm Claudette." "I'm Heidi." They shook hands. Heidi took the roll of fabric under her arm. "Let's go and look for the accessories. I think it is on the next floor." For the next hour, they were chatting away as if they had known each other for years. There were ribbons galore to choose from and buttons. With the roll of fabric and their hands full of accessories, they made their way to the cashier's desk to have the fabric measured out. "What a wonderful place this is!" Heidi exclaimed. "It is a dressmaker's heaven." "Thanks for helping me, Heidi. I really appreciate it. And you have not even had time to buy anything for yourself yet." "Think nothing of it, Claudette. I had a wonderful time. Besides, I did not come to buy anything specific. For me, it was more of a pilgrimage. The dress is going to be lovely. Your daughter is going to be so happy. She will look beautiful." Suddenly, Claudette stiffened, her eyes filled with tears. "Oh, I'm so sorry, Claudette. Did I say something wrong? I just assumed it was for your daughter," Heidi said, concerned. "It's nothing," Claudette replied as struggled to keep her tears back. They paid for the purchases and went out into the bright sunlight filling the Champs-Élysées. Heidi stopped and looked seriously at Claudette. "I am really sorry that I upset you in the store. I do apologize." "It's not you, Heidi. I had such a wonderful time shopping with you. Do you have time for a coffee or something?" "I'd love to," Heidi replied. They went into the bistro next to Max's. Claudette selected a table that was more private. She fumbled nervously with the strap of her purse. Then she leant closer to Heidi as she wanted to be more confidential. "Look, Heidi, I am so embarrassed. I don't know how to explain my behavior. It was so much fun shopping with you," she began. "No, it is my fault, Claudette. I was being very indiscreet. It's just that the fabric was so beautiful. I guess I got carried away." "I understand, but it's not for my daughter," her voice dropping to a whisper. "It is for my son." "Your son?" exclaimed Heidi. This was not what she had expected at all. Some family intrigue, yes, but not this. Claudette had been watching Heidi closely to see her response, and Heidi's surprise was obvious. "I knew you would be shocked," said Claudette with emotion welling up in her voice and her eyes. "But it is not what you think." Heidi instinctively put her hand on Claudette's to reassure her. "I'm not shocked, really, but it is just so unexpected." The two women sat like that for a while with Heidi holding Claudette's hand. Gradually, Heidi could feel Claudette starting to relax. "My son, Michel, has been invited to his cousin's birthday party. It is a costume party. Michel insists he wants to go as a girl. I suggested everything, Superman, a cowboy, Spider-Man, but no, he wants to be a girl. He even selected this pattern," sighed Claudette. Heidi waited for a second. "Is that it? But that's not the end of the world, Claudette. At least he chose a beautiful dress. He's got good taste." "Oh, Heidi, if only it was that simple. We both wanted our first to be a son. My husband, Louis, was so proud the day Michel was born. He couldn't stop talking about all the things they were going to do together, but it did not work out like that." "What do you mean?" asked Heidi quietly as her own emotions started to build. "Well, Michel does not seem to like boy things. He only plays with girls at school or at the park. He goes to bed with his teddy bear. His favorite toy is a doll. It makes Louis so angry. One day he took the doll away in his ET. He told Michel that he was now big and big boys don't play with dolls." "And what happened?" asked Heidi, sensing a familiar pain in her chest. "It was awful. Michel cried so much, and I cried too. He kept on crying that he was not a boy. In the end, Louis had to give the doll back. Louis is so heartbroken that he has a sissy for a son." Heidi sat in stunned silence. It was so long ago now. "Heidi, you are shocked, yes?" Claudette asked anxiously. No, I was thinking, but why should I be shocked? Well, it's such a shame. It is not, exclaimed Heidi with conviction. You love Michel, don't you? Michel, of course, with all my heart. Is he well behaved? Always. He is a pleasure. Other than when Louis took his doll, is he a happy child? Heidi commented with a smile. Oh yes, as long as we don't take his doll away, replied Claudette, rather surprised at the conviction in Heidi's voice. So there. You don't have a problem. You have a wonderful child. A treasure. Everything will work out fine. Heidi glanced at her watch. Look at the time. I am sorry. I must go. It was really nice meeting you. I am sure you and Michel are going to enjoy making the dress. Claudette noticed the change in the way Heidi pronounced her son's name, but she wasn't sure. Heidi had started to rise, so Claudette got up too. She hugged Heidi and kissed her on both cheeks. Thank you for giving me perspective, Heidi. I feel so much better. You have helped me so much. I'm glad I met you. I hope things will work out. They will, Claudette, believe me. Here, let me give you something. Heidi took a photograph out of her purse and gave it to Claudette. This is for when you start to doubt. Heidi waved, and then she was gone. Claudette sat down slowly and looked at the photograph. It was of a young boy. He was sitting on a swing. In his one hand was a doll, and he was clutching it tightly against his body. The boy had been crying. Claudette turned the photograph over. On the back, someone had written simply, Hans, 1995. I wonder why she gave me this. Claudette stared at the photograph for a long time. She thought about all that had happened that afternoon. Suddenly, the penny dropped. I don't believe it. It's her. She was the boy in the photo. Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out Patreon for early access and exclusive content.